What is happening, everybody? So in this video, I want to give a more in-depth review and give my experience so far with the Nitto Tri-5R drag radials in the size of 305, 35, 20 on my 20 by 9.5 inch SRT wheels. Basically, my wheel size is the same as the Hellcats, TAs, Daytonas. We're basically all running the same size wheel, and this size is a known upgrade, or at least a known alternative to running the stock size tire in a drag radial. The reasons you would maybe want to run a wider tire is the perception that you would have more traction with that wider width, and for the aesthetic of having just a physically larger tire on that wheel. It just looks a little bit better. So to get to it though, before I get into it, I should say, I want to talk about my experience with actually getting the tires put onto the wheels. If you're working with a national chain store like National Tire and Battery, NTB, or Discount, they will refuse to put this tire on that wheel. And the reason being is that the tire manufacturer recommends a 10-inch wide wheel. Well, we're working with a 9.5 inch wide wheel, and they view it as some type of a liability and therefore will refuse service. You'll need to go to a local independent shop to get these tires mounted and balanced. You should be doing that anyway. Support your local businesses. But anyway, getting back to the data. So I want to talk about the drag strip first. Once the tires were on the car went directly to the drag strip that night. And in terms of how the tire hooked up, well, it hooked up fine. I mean, the car will dead hook, and I was running air pressure of 26 psi. So with for a drag radial anyway, relatively high psi, the car was still dead hooking. And my car, although it's not a Hellcat, it's making some pretty decent power. To give you an idea, it's making about 430 horsepower to the rear wheels, SAE corrected. And in this case, I was running at a density altitude of about 2,100 feet. The car was pulling 178, 60 foot on average, and it was running a best of a 12.0. Now, this is a car that in really good conditions, by the way, will run in the mid-11s. So, and I've got about 50 passes worth of experience here to go from. So, yeah, the car did fine getting out of the hole. It did everything just fine going down the track. They felt stable. There was no anything really to report, which in this conversation is about as good of a review as you can give. The car just did fine. With that size tire on those rims on my car, I didn't notice any rubbing either. There was some concern that, well, maybe it might rub the inner fender because the Challengers just don't have that much room in that inner fender well. Well, if it did rub, it would have only been maybe a kiss of that inner fender liner, and I didn't really see any real evidence of that as well. So nothing audible, nothing visual that I could really see that would have shown me or would have at least implied that there was any rubbing going on. So at least there's that to work with. So we're talking about now a tire that hooks perfectly fine, looks a little bit better than running the stock size tire, in my opinion, performed flawlessly, and came in at a price that was about $100, or actually about $150 less for the set than going with the comparable set of Mickey Thompson drag radials. So far, it's sounding pretty good. Now, to give you my impressions of the tire on the street, well, to say that the tire did well is a bit of an understatement if you believe a lot of the hype that drag radials don't do well in the rain. So the day after taking the car to the drag strip, aired the tires back up to normal street pressure, which would have been 32 psi in this case, and we decided to go for a trip through the Texas Hill Country in the car, which was fun up until the trip back home, about a 3.5 hour drive in a downpour. And we're driving around the back roads of the Texas Hill Country, which you can imagine are not the best roads in the world. Asphalt, lots of standing water. Really, you know, the initial driving impression of these tires in the rain was a non-impression. Again, nothing to report because there was nothing dramatic to report. You know, even through some areas where there was some standing water in the troughs in the road, the tires didn't really seem to be bothered by that. So, yeah, they performed just fine in the rain, provided you're not, you know, running the car through there like you're trying to set a lap record. You drive it sensibly, and you'd never know you had drag radials at all. Another good thing to report, especially again when you consider that, you know, drag radials just really do have a nasty habit of, or a nasty reputation of being bad in the rain or having a bad habit of hydroplaning. And a lot of that has to do with the tread depth of the tire, not so much to do with the compound, but the Nittos did fine. So there's that to report. There's also, you know, the tires hook amazing on the street. They practically dead hook like they do at the drag strip on the street. So, and that's at street pressures. I'm really happy with the tire so far. And if you're considering going with a drag radial, you know, if you want to duck some of the headaches, go with the stock size. They're going to hook just as well as the 305s, I believe, at least based on track testing so far. I don't think you're going to get any real benefit by going with the 305s in terms of traction, but so far as I can tell, the Nittos are performing better than expected. So, you know, again, getting back into the cost of the tires, you're looking to spend somewhere between $600 and $700 plus to get a set of drag radials shipped to your door. Now, that's quite a bit of money to spend on a tire that really is not going to give you a ton of life. And this is an alternative that I want to throw out there to you guys. If you're not taking your car to the drag strip, a good summer tire will get you about 85% of what you're looking for in terms of traction, and it will be at a fraction of the cost of the drag radial. So there is always that option to go with. Myself, I do a lot of track testing. I'm trying to do a lot of data acquisition, and I need a tire that is going to be consistent. Not to mention I only live 10 minutes away from the drag strip. Something I like to do. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I want to give the car the best chance of consistency and the best chance of running the best ET that it can, given whatever conditions that it's running in. So again, those are my impressions. That's a little bit of the data for you on the tire. Post up your comments. Let me know what you're running on the back of your Challengers and Chargers. Can't wait to hear what your opinion is of that 305/35 on that 9.5-inch wheel. I know a lot of people get a little, I don't know, polarized by running that tire. I happen to like it. You might hate it. Tell me what you think. That's a wrap on this one. Adios.